Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Blakeman Presents Fun with Robotics. As I mentioned in episode 1, for the first 2 months or so, this channel is going to be dedicated to designing and building shop organizational projects. And today we're going to be talking about the organization of machine screws. Sounds pretty boring, right? Well, let's see if we can't make it exciting. First, let's have a look at the way I used to store my machine screws and why it frustrated me. So quite a while ago, I found storage containers like this one, which is just a plastic case with a couple of clips, and it comes with some dividers that you can cut up and you can put them into these pre-existing spaces and make it into compartments of the right sizes that you need them for. And I think they were originally used as tackle boxes, but they made great organizers. And again, this was before the days of the Sortimo boxes or even the Harbor Freight organizational boxes. And I collected quite a bit of them, and I've got things stored in these boxes like circuit breakers and shrink tubes and switches and multi-wire connectors and servos and you name it, standoffs. Obviously it's quite an assortment, and it works really pretty well. But I also had all of my machine screws mixed in with these, and of course when you went to get the one that you needed, it was always on the bottom. Alright, you pull it out, use it, put it back, and now it's completely out of order. You can never maintain any kind of order with the machine screws in terms of their sizes. So I needed a dedicated space where I could put all my machine screws, put them in a specific order, and they wouldn't get out of order. And so let me show you what I've come up with. So this is where I'm storing my machine screws now. Yes, it is a do-it-yourself Sortimo type build. I know I'm not the first guy to put out a video on their version of the Sortimo build, but bear with me because there is a little bit of a twist. For those who aren't familiar with what a Sortimo is, there's an excellent video that was done by Adam Savage where he shows his Sortimo system for organizing all his machine screws and a lot of other small parts. It's an excellent video. I think if you haven't seen it, it's a good one to watch. It's just very interesting the way he has things organized. But this is my do-it-yourself version of that, at least for machine screws. On this side, I start out with some set screws. Then I start with the machine screws from number 4 all the way down to 6, 8, 10, 12, quarter 20s, and have some carriage bolts and some drywall screws. And on this side, I've got small flat washers, large flat washers, lock washers, wing nuts, machine screw nuts, stainless steel cap head screws, stainless steel button head screws, and black steel cap head screws, and some wood screws that I use occasionally down here. The way this is built is I have shelves made out of plywood. They just slide in, and this piece here, it's nothing more than part of an old door frame that I cut up, and I put on each one of these to keep the box from sliding back, because these larger boxes below actually take up the full width of the shelf. But since I'm still using my old plastic boxes, I needed to have something to keep it from sliding all the way back in and making it hard to get to it. On each side here, I used nothing but more than just a piece of yellow pine. It's a rail that I've screwed to each side, and that's what the shelf rests on. But it is tilted back a little bit, so that if this thing starts rolling forward and it hits something, I don't have boxes flinging out and ending up all over the floor. So I think that really helps a little bit, just to have a little bit of an angle to it. It's probably about 2-3 degrees, and it sits nicely in there and keeps things from sliding out. Along the bottom here, I have the new type of container boxes from Harbor Freight. They have individual places where you can put screws and whatever you're storing, and if you should turn over the box and the lid is closed, nothing is going to get mixed up or fall out. You can also pull out an individual cup or two and take them with you, and then put them back later if you don't want the whole box with you. For me, this is mostly just future storage, although I have managed to find a use for one of them. I use my Dremel quite a bit, and one of the most used tools I use with it is the little round sanding discs. So I've managed to use these new type of boxes to store the sanding discs, and this has worked out really well. By the way, you can buy these on eBay in bulk, and you'll get a lot more for your money buying them that way than just buying those little packs of 5 or 10 at the big box stores. They're just a lot cheaper to buy in quantities of 100, and you can get them right on eBay. Now, this thing is extremely sturdy. It's made out of 2x4s and 1/2 inch, and in some cases 5/8 and 3/4 inch plywood, and there's a reason for that. Before I tell you that, why, I want to mention that I have these casters. I have 6 casters on this thing because it does get pretty heavy after it's loaded up with a lot of machine screws and other things. And I mentioned these in the previous video, that you can get these casters from the Home Depot. They're really nice. They're ball bearing casters. They hold a lot of weight. I haven't had any issues with them going flat just yet, even though they are made out of urethane or some sort of hard plastic. They roll extremely well. They're about $8 a piece, and really worth it. And the brake actually does work, and it's got a nice big flat pedal to push on with your foot, so it's easy to get that brake to go on and then easy to get it to go off. So I really like these. I've used them in a lot of my builds, and I've had a really good success with them. So here's the twist. I'm going to go move the camera, and then I'll show you what else I've done with this. So in addition to having all of my machine screws stored in this unit, I thought I'd take advantage of the top as a workspace as well. So I have 3 sides with French cleats mounted on them, on the backs and on the sides, and it gives me a place to store some of the small, most frequently used tools. For example, tape measures. It's always good to have these handy. My Dremel is there, and I keep some of the most frequently used attachments right with it. Utility knives, paintbrushes, drill driver bits, and then over here I have some small hand files. They come in handy. This is a great little workspace for keeping things. It does become a little bit of a dumping ground for things that you don't know what to do with, but you do a cleanup every once in a while, and it keeps the rest of the shop from getting things strewn all over the place. Plus, it's good for paperwork. These sides tend to keep any wind from blowing it away, and you can just kind of put something on top of it to keep it from moving around. So it's a handy little space to have. If you're watching this video, it's a good chance you saw the Adam Savage video where he shows his Sortimo system, that this is basically a do-it-yourself version of. But there's another video that I watched on YouTube that I found very interesting, and that was actually a video done by Jamie, where he was giving a tour of the M5 facility where they built all of the machines and props for their Mythbusters show. And as he was going around to the different areas within the facility, he showed that he had a number of stations where they would store what I would call ultra necessities. And these things are just not even tools, but just things you need on a daily basis just to get through the day. So I decided to make my ultra necessities part of this build. And I've done that by putting them on the side. So I'll show that to you now. So these are most of the things I think he covered as ultra necessities. One is a fire extinguisher. Hopefully you'll never need it, but it's always good to have it there, right at the ready. Some flashlights, pads of paper, both large and small, a calculator. I don't do arithmetic very well. Some pencils, some Sharpies and some fine point Sharpies, paper towels, a pencil sharpener, and a first aid kit. So that's my ultra necessities. They're always here when I need them, and they have been very useful. So I've added one more area of storage to this unit, and that is some small parts storage along the back. So let me show that to you. And these are nothing more than some inexpensive plastic bins from Harbor Freight. These are the small ones, and then there's some larger ones down here for larger parts. But it's fantastic to have a place to put items that there's really just one or two of, and there's no really need to create a dedicated storage area for them. Plus it keeps them neat and organized, and you can find them again when you need them, because these are things that you know you're going to need in the future, but you just have no idea where to put them at the moment to keep them organized. So this works extremely well for that. So here's a few rough dimensions for this project. This front side is 36 inches, 3 feet. The height is 48.5 inches. The gaps here are 2 inches and 3 3/4 inches. And the side width is 18.5 inches. And then this recess in the back is 4 7/8, close to 5 inches. And then this back panel here, 24 inches. And I think that's about it. So I'm really happy with the way that this unit turned out. I've been using it for a while now in the shop, and it has really helped to keep me organized as I'm working on my projects. One thing I've noticed is that when you build a unit like this, or any other unit, after a while of using it, you kind of say to yourself, maybe I should have done this differently. I didn't build it tall enough, wide enough, short enough. I didn't give enough space for this or that. But with this particular unit, I can't think of anything that I would really change on it. So from that standpoint, it's really an optimal design. So again, I'm very happy with it, and that's it for this one. Well, that's a wrap for episode 2 of Fun with Robotics and the do-it-yourself Sortimo system for keeping your machine screws, your ultra necessities, and your small parts neat and organized and at your fingertips where you need them. If you have any questions about today's build, you can always send me an email at info@theroboticscodedepot.com, and I'll try to get back to you as quickly as possible. If you thought today's episode was interesting, stay tuned for episode 3, when we build an organizational cart for storing different sandpapers and sanding belts.